Lindsay, Terry, about ready? Microphone. Voice. Well, good morning, everybody. It is 8:30 a.m. It is December 16th, 2025, and this is the Delta County Board of County Commissioners regular meeting. Merry Christmas, and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Do we have any edits or additions to our agenda this morning?
We do. During the shutdown of the federal government, we had previously scheduled the Uncompahgre office for the Bureau of Land Management to give us an update, just programmatic, no decisions to be made. We're privileged today that Dan can join us. Dan is the district manager for the Uncompahgre office for the Bureau of Land Management, again, for an update only. He has indicated he will be joined by Caroline, and I assume she'll be in person or on the.
In person.
Okay, all right. So with that, we'll add that to the agenda, and we can put that in this morning per your information, commissioners.
Thank you. Where in the agenda would you want to put that? Before or after Graywater?
Do you want to put that in right before Graywater?
If Caroline's here, let's do it then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Terry?
Yeah.
Hearing none, that agenda will be approved as amended. Constituent time. Does anybody like to visit with commissioners this morning? Let's make sure that microphone's on. Good morning. Please introduce yourself and where you live.
Steve Wolcott. I live on Stucker Mesa between Paonia and Hotchkiss. And I'm here to talk about Graywater. I just noticed in your agenda, you're considering banning all Graywater use. And I just want to say that seems like a bad idea. We're in the middle of a multi-year drought. Last year, Overland Reservoir did not fill. We look like we're headed into another dry year, and it seems like we want to be able to use whatever water resources we have to keep landscape trees going. Also, I want to point out that when the commissioners were working on the land use plan a couple of years ago, we were assured that the commissioners would follow the state lead in reducing regulation of Graywater. And we just hope you stick by that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi,
Good morning.
my name is Linda Lindsay. I'm Steve's wife. I live on Stucker Mesa outside of Paonia. And I wanted to come here today to congratulate you on the installation of the solar array there that's going to save the county so much money and be forward-looking and everything. But I had to come to complain about this proposal to do away with Graywater, which seems totally ridiculous. You know, Stucker Mesa is particularly badly hit by this drought. We are on the Overland Reservoir, which did not fill this year at all. I mean, we had no, our water actually made it through most of July. But then our domestic water company, one of the springs failed. It's in the same area up there by the Overland Reservoir. And so half of the people on the mesa had to haul water all summer. you know, we are in the midst of a terrible drought, and this is the opposite of what we need to be doing. You know, let's keep Delta County green. We want to have a few trees and landscaping around our houses. So, you know, please do away with this proposal to ban gray water. We really ought to be promoting gray water. And if you want to do away with all the regulations of gray water and have less government interference in our lives, that would be fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Lindsay, anybody online?
No.
Thank you. We'll move then to County Clerk, Mrs. Stevenson.
Good morning, Commissioners. This morning I have the minutes for the December 9th, 2025 Board of County Commissioners regular meeting. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes?
I have none.
I didn't see anything.
All good, Terry.
Thank you. I also have this morning for your consideration and renewal of a hotel and restaurant and fermented malt beverage on and off premises license for Gunnison River Pleasure Park located at 8949 Pleasure Park Road in Hotchkiss. I've received all necessary documentation and fees. I've also contacted the sheriff to see if he had any issues with the renewal of this liquor license. He does not, therefore I would be recommending approval of the renewal of this liquor license.
Any questions on this one, gentlemen?
No.
Well, I move that we renew the liquor license of a hotel and restaurant and fermented malt beverage on and off premises license for Gunnison River Pleasure Park located 8949 Pleasure Park Road in Hotchkiss.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I also have a, for your consideration, a liquor license renewal for a retail liquor store for Desperado Incorporated, doing business as Desperado Liquor, located at 404860 Road in Crawford. Again, I received all necessary documentation and fees. I've also contacted the sheriff on this one. There were no issues, therefore I would recommend approval of this retail liquor license.
Any questions on this one, gentlemen?
I'll make a motion that we approve the liquor license for a retail liquor store, Desperado Incorporated, also known as Desperado Liquor, 40486 Road in Crawford, Colorado.
I second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Terry.
Again, maybe Dan. Just give a brief update from the BLM Padre Field office. We appreciate both of you being here in person. It's been a while, and so thank you.
Right here.
Is that right?
I was noticing also, I appreciate Delta County because of all the counties that the Uncle Padre Field Office crosses, the three photographs behind the commissioners here are all displaying BLM public lands. With nothing against the Forest Service, but
With good geology. Good geology up there.
oh, yeah. Yeah, well, we wanted to come in today, and I know we were speaking before the government shutdown for quite some time to come in. Because it seems there's a lot going on in Delta County, and we wanted to communicate with the Delta County here of some of the happenings of our recreation program. Carolyn, you want to kick us off with Jumbo?
Sure. So I think probably one of the last times we came to the formal Board of County Commissioners meeting was when we were going through the public comment process and planning at Jumbo Mountain, which is BLM trail system just outside of Paonia. We've completed that planning process in, I believe, the fall of 2023. And so kind of where we are now, last year we were able to install 11 seasonal closure gates, some of which are for nesting raptors and the others which are for the big game. So elk, deer, I guess more deer in that particular area. So that has been a success. We've seen definitely a reduction of use during the wintering months in that area. So that's really good. We've struggled with a little bit of vandalism, but I think overall it has been fairly well respected and received. So that has been good. We're continuing to work with the local trail group and coordinating on some of the reroutes and just improving the maintenance of the trails that are there. And so hoping to kind of continue to, enhance the quality of the trails and make them more user-friendly for kind of a wider group of folks. I believe in 2025, we estimated around 15,000 people visited those trails. So it's quite a large number, definitely. I'm sure if you're familiar, you can just walk right out your backyard onto BLM, which is kind of a unique opportunity. Have anything else you want to add?
Caroline was mentioning the installation of seasonal closure gates. When we went through our planning process, we've been working with our partners, working with Colorado Parks and Wildlife to identify those areas where the most critical winter habitat was for deer and elk. And a lot of Jumbo Mountain, a lot of that trail network is in critical winter range. So we were able to keep the western portion, everything. There's a power line road that cuts north-south through the Jumbo Mountain area. And a lot of the trails to the west of that power line road are still open year round. So citizens of Paonia could go out their back door and walk their dogs, go mountain biking year round. It's everything east of that power line road is seasonally closed. Now, Jumbo Mountain, it's what we call a user-created trail network. Those trails existed for 30 years without a seasonal closure. And it wasn't until we went through the public planning process where we implemented that closure. And so Caroline mentioned vandalism. It's one thing that we're continuing to work with the community on is communicating those seasonal restrictions, why they're important, why they're critical to help the big game habitat out there. And I think we're going to continue to be communicating that for quite some time because the public, they've gotten used to having trails there, and it's BLM or a multiple use agency, and just trying to keep that entire Jumbo Mountain area as pristine as can be.
Besides signage, what else is being used to enforce those seasonal closures?
And so the signage and gates, that was a big one. The first year after the planning process, we just had signs up with no gates, which it required the funding for us to actually purchase the gates. So it wasn't until that second year where we put the gates in. Besides that, a lot of outreach. Wendell, you sit on the West Slope Outdoor Alliance. We've been trying to work with our partners, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, WSOA, and other, help communicate that message. We have a lot of great partners in Paonia as well, West Slope Conservation Center, and the Nature Connection. And so that's one thing we're trying to do is just communicate that need and communicate with our partners as well, so they could use their networks too.
Was the vandalism on the gates?
The vandalism, I mean, the gates are locked, and there was a vandal out there that was quite sneaky, and this person put crazy glue in the locks, so we couldn't open them, and so we had to cut the locks.
Won't be done.
But now I just spilled the vandalized locks. And then also we have trail cameras up as well. That just gives us a better sense, and that's how we collect data on how many people cross into the closure area. And last year the cameras were stolen, which is, I mean, we see it every year, stuff like that.
There's been a lot of renewed interest in Smith Mountain trails. What's the status on that?
That was my next on my list. Yeah. So Smith Mountain Trails would be close to the town of Delta here, out off H75 road, kind of just next to the existing, I guess we'll call the Delta end of Sidewinder Trail. So we received a official kind of plan of development proposal from the Delta Area Mountain Bikers Group in, I believe, at the end of July 2025. Saw the county commissioners, you all had signed a letter of support of the project. And so this fall, we worked with the bike group to apply for a planning and capacity building grant from Colorado Parks and Wildlife. The chapter has existed for quite a while, but sort of lost a lot of membership, had some turnover, and it seems like in the last year or so, there's been kind of a renewed interest in the group. So supported the group in hopefully getting some equipment, tools, a trailer, things like that to kind of solidify their capacity to do those kind of projects. And then kind of where we are right now is we are focused on another big bike project out near Nucla and Natarita in Montrose County. And so we're hoping to complete kind of the heavy environmental analysis lift in the next year. And then, you know, this is kind of the next big bike project in the queue. That being said, I'm sure you all read the proposal when they came to ask for a letter of support. It's going to be quite a costly project. And so I think for us, there's kind of this ongoing talking to the group, talking to community partners to make sure that this is going to be a long-term project that everyone wants to see through. And also how can we all work together to make sure there's funding to get it done. So I think, you know, going into, I guess, 2027, hopefully we can start working with the group to get maybe some preliminary surveys and resource needs met out there as we kind of slowly start to move the project along. You know, for us, it's just these projects are so time intensive. We found it really works best to focus on one, get it done, and then move on to the next one, which is, I think, what made Jumbo so successful. So we're going to focus on that West End project, and then Delta County, that's the next, Smith Mountain is the next big bike project that we have kind of on our radar. And I think, you know, we were speaking about there are resource concerns out there, but they're not big game in some of the usual suspects. So in some ways, that's really nice. There's not as many places around here that you can ride your bike or recreate, you know, non-motorized recreation in those winter months. So we definitely see a need for that kind of activity. Yeah.
Note though, on Smith Mountain, you know, a lot of the draw on Smith Mountain is that it could be a winter cycling destination. A lot of times we were just talking about this restriction over in Jumbo Mountain, Paonia, but Smith Mountain may not have such a restriction. I do want to point out though, there is winter grazing that goes on there as well. And so that's something that we would need to address in the NEPA analysis. But even though we're not in the middle of a NEPA process for Smith Mountain right now, it still definitely helps to hear from the public. And so if Delta County constituents are interested in these trails, it's great to hear from them. And so feel free to reach out to us if this is something you want to see and just provide that feedback now, because we collect feedback ongoing.
I've been approached a number of times about when Smith Mountain will be built out.
Yeah,
So people are interested, it's on their radar now.
Great.
that's good.
So,
Yeah, that's really helpful to hear.
questions on any of this recreation toward Carolina? Then?
The glue in the wall. I'm not that I'm thinking. Like, what is the mentality?
Yeah, I don't want to pitch that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the last project that we wanted to talk to you all about, so we have a really great off-highway vehicle OHV crew funded through Colorado Parks and Wildlife's grant program for when folks buy the sticker for their ATV, UTV, dirt bike, that goes into a pot at the state, and then we can apply for grants. So right now we've got a 2-person crew that is solely dedicated to working on motorized trails. And we've identified the North Delta open OHV area, somewhere we'd like to spend some more time and energy and resources. So kind of over the past 2 seasons, our crew's been doing a lot of work. I know there's a lot of trash dumping and other not recreational activities that happen out there now. And so I know we've had a really successful partnership with the landfill, working together to place some boulders out there to try to limit some of that that kind of illegal activity. And where we're hoping to go is to work towards building out kind of where that older staging area originally was, make it seem more like a recreational point, some loading ramps, as well as hoping to identify some, you know, there's obviously a lot of trails back there now, but signing them in a way that people can feel comfortable showing up and using the trails. And long-term, we've been working with a bunch of the different motorized recreational groups across the valley to look at hopefully building out like a UTV course, as well as kids pump track and maybe a small scale skills course similar to what's at Peach Valley or up off of, what's the one in Grand Junction?
27
27 and a quarter. Yeah, what an easy to remember name. They have a quite nice facility up there. And so that's sort of a long-term goal. We received sort of the first part of a big grant to hopefully we're going to be purchasing a skid steer for our office, which will go a long way in helping us kind of start working through that project. But our engineer, has identified there's some staging areas across BLM where they've sort of created these rock crawling entrances and exits to the staging area. So it makes it really difficult for folks who want to tow a trailer full of trash or an RV up and over them. But if you're recreating, you're in your ATV, UTV, dirt bike, it's easy to get over. And so that's something we're looking at for that particular site to try to meet both of those goals. It's a really nice area that I think if we can build that infrastructure, we'll get more of the use we want people to do and people feel more comfortable enjoying it. So that's something else we're working on. And right now we've got, I think, just how the grant cycle is, we've kind of got that equipment coming hopefully in 2026. And then depending on when it gets here, that's something we'll really be probably hitting later this year and then definitely into 2027. So it's sort of like a small scale, out here would be a small scale Adobe obstacle course that would be better suited for kids on, I've been seeing a lot of kids on e-dirt bikes, so just smaller sized, vehicles, if you will, that is better suited towards kids' use. We've also found that a lot of parents feel more comfortable where it's kind of enclosed and anyone else just riding their dirt bike isn't going to accidentally come over a hill and run into a bunch of little kids kind of doing their thing. So a lot of other BLM sites, they have them sort of fenced off where there's a really nice perimeter and it's usually close to the parking lot. So, there's picnic tables, shade ramadas, parents can be there and the kids have a space to do that and kind of learn in that safer environment. And we have something kind of like that at Peach Valley, but it's just too small. So I think here at North Delta, we'd like to build a bigger one. I know a lot of kids across the whole valley really are into the dirt bikes and definitely now the e-dirt bikes. We've been seeing more and more of those on our sites as well. So yeah. Good question. Yeah.
And Caroline mentioned trash collection. A lot of this is legitimizing some of these sites to prevent folks from going out and dumping. We appreciate the support from Delta County over the years to help our crew harden some of these sites and efforts like the public lands cleanup that we do every single year. But, our OHV crew, they could spend their entire summer picking up trash and doing nothing else. And it's an issue out there and we'll continue to have at it, but we continue to see it every single day.
We really appreciate the partnership with the BLM in doing that also.
Yeah.
And that skid steer come in very handy at that time.
Yeah.
I've actually been, folks have brought forward expanding that to do more BLM cleanup elsewhere, particularly in the North Fork. I don't know if you guys have the capacity to pick that up and do more or not.
Yeah, I think
Do a second day of cleanup.
Yeah, we could do a second day of cleanup, especially volunteer events. One hurdle that we need to overcome with cleanup, with any volunteer cleanups is just clearing the hazardous materials. But I think as long as we have enough notice to send out our hazmat coordinator to check the site, we would love to do more volunteer cleanups with the county.
And I'm gonna look at Lindsay for this.
I'm looking at Lindsay too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll work on
Great.
yeah.
Because we need to identify a date, first quarter.
Well, maybe not first quarter. It's pretty chilly.
Identify the date first quarter, but do it in late April, May.
Cold is better than rain.
Yeah.
Better than August.
Dry is better than muddy.
Way to incentivize the OHV environment by encouraging them to, you know, because they went out looking for trash on a cleanup day, and they would come back and say, hey, anybody with, you know, equipment, come over here, I found some trash. But if they could maybe pick up the trash while they're out, and maybe collect it in certain, like a bag at a time rather than an entire day.
I think as far as county efforts to help minimize dumping on public lands, free dump days are huge in communicating free dump days. We've seen benefits from that. I think just the communication with all citizens, how much of an issue it is. One thing that I'm learning is, there are people that they just grew up that way. That's where garbage goes. And, when it's becoming an issue, I think just helping just change that mindset that it's all of our public lands and, it's for everyone to enjoy.
I agree, Ben. I think it's more the educational piece and the awareness that we bring more than it is just going out and cleaning up. So.
And as the BLM looked at efforts or proceeded with efforts at enforcing, criminally enforcing, trying to, actually summons violators into court and that sort of thing. Is that, because that builds awareness too?
Yeah, our struggle with that is technically for the entire BLM Colorado Southwest District, we have 2 law enforcement officers. One's down in Durango and one is based in Montrose. To be able to enforce it, you need to catch someone in the act. And so we do have some cameras in places, and whenever we could find a dump site and there's some identifiable piece of evidence there that we could pinpoint it down to a single person, we have followed up on that. But again, just the difficulty of getting someone identified from a dump site is rather difficult. But whenever we can, yes, we do take advantage of that.
I know there's some regulations that are looking at us in the windshield that are gonna really impact local small landfills that have the potential to do that anyways. We may have bought ourselves a little bit of time in the near future, but I'm afraid it's not going away. And in our landfill in particular, because it's so close to your lands, our lands, that's just gonna pick up the pace if they ever succeed in shutting down these smaller county-run landfills. People are not gonna drive their trash to Grand Junction to get rid of it. They're gonna drive to the backside of the existing landfill and they're gonna dump it right there.
And that's an absolute struggle. And yeah, I'm not sure how to deal with that one when you go to a landfill and actually pay to unload your trash, or you can go to the surrounding lands and it's free.
We're struggling with that too, because it's a landfill's an enterprise fund that needs to be self-sustaining, and the additional cost the state is going to burden us with may make it cost prohibitive.
Yeah, one thing our maintenance ranger, when he sees folks on public lands that are gonna dump, because our maintenance ranger can issue citations. He's not law enforcement, but he tells people just to bring it to the office. If you're gonna dump on public lands, I'll take care of it. Just bring it to the office, put it in my truck. Because it's a lot easier for us just to take care of it than go and fetch it in a ditch somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There might be another tire shredding event if CDPHE comes up with some funds in July, but we don't know for sure yet. But the BLM's participation in the last one we got a semi and 3/4 full of tires, which might have ended up out in the Adobes also, but that was a great event.
Yeah, definitely let us know. I know quite a few people from our office helped out with that, and I'm
Mhm.
sure they would be happy to again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think another big piece is electronics. Like if you were gonna start seeing more and more electronics because we don't have a way to get rid of them. And TVs are becoming more and more cheap, and especially over the holidays. And so people, TVs, what are they doing with the old ones? So we're going to see these TVs being left everywhere. So we need to come up with a plan.
You can communicate that as well. If you see someone that's gonna dump you could tell them to bring in the office. Again, that's going to Montrose though, so.
Yeah,
But really, I mean, that's a lot easier for us than just picking it up on public land somewhere.
Just heard Fuller.
Can you mute them? Very good. Well, thank you guys for being here today and thank you for your partnership. And it's good to work with BLM on WSOA. We're making some real headway there.
For sure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Yeah. Great to see you all.
thank you.
Yeah.
Keep the fan out and we keep all the toys in the plant.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Yeah, good to see you.
Okay, next for your consideration is a resolution prohibiting the installation of gray water treatment works and the use of all gray.
Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Director.
Board, I'm coming to you for the resolution prohibiting the installation of gray water treatment works and the use of all gray water. We spoke last week and we did more research and we found out that Delta County did not have a resolution in place for gray water at that time. So pursuant to the House Bill 24 TAC 1362, a person may install gray water treatments works in the use of gray water in accordance with the statute and rules adopted pursuant to Section 30 TAC 11 TAC 1071 KK that prohibits the installation of gray water treatment works and the use of all gray water in the county or prohibiting one of more categories of gray water use that the Water Quality Control Commission establishes and rules adopted pursuant to Colorado Register Statute Section 25 TAC 8 TAC 201 1G. And so basically, we have the option to opt in or opt out of the uses of gray water in Delta County. I'm coming to ask for the resolution that prohibits the installation of gray water treatment works and use of all gray water.
Tell us the ramifications if we opt in.
So if we opt in, there would be a few ways that you could opt in. And so there's 5 different use categories. And so basically you have whole house use, laundry to landscape. There's one that deals with firefighting, storing it in cisterns, and the other one's just another, basically it's another whole house treatment system. If we were to opt in as a whole, this would mean that anybody that would install a gray water system would have to hire a certified plumber, have it basically engineered, installed correctly, and then monitored appropriately. This requires operation manuals. This requires environmental health to go out on site to verify that everything is in place, and to make sure that any enforcement that if it was not working properly would have to come down.
So we'd have to have additional staff and enforcement.
Correct. Unfortunately, this is an unfunded mandate that the state of Colorado has also pushed when it comes to gray water. But thankfully, we have the option of opting in or out versus just strictly opting in.
And if we opt, if we opt out, could Delta County come up with their own gray water standards that we could then implement?
We could, as long as it was the same as Regulation 86 or stricter. So Regulation 86, which is the gray water, they have a set of rules that you would have to follow. And so again, this would be, you would need that operation manual. You would have to have it certified by a plumber and installed correctly with an enforcement pathway. So unfortunately, we couldn't just opt in and then let Delta County do as they wish. We would have to have all of those policies and programs in place.
What about existing gray water systems?
According to Regulation 86, they would have to be, if we opted out and prohibit it, they would have to shut them down. They would have to take them out.
Sam, is there an option for the county, not necessarily today, but at a later date, to authorize certain types? I know you addressed this a little bit, but certain types of gray water, for instance, the landscape, sorry, I forget.
The laundry to
Laundry
landscape.
landscape, the laundry to landscape, approach and not authorize other parts?
Yes, that is correct. So the thing that we're having some difficulties is getting, because it is an unfunded mandate, is having staff and to be able to enforce these regulations. You know, the state's not going to give us money to staff our people than to have another FTE to be able to go out to every home that wants to do this and do it appropriately. If we were at a later date, because we can opt out and we can opt back in. The state has no requirements for doing that, and I think that's a great idea. You know, and being able to buy us some time to actually build out a program and to make this work for Delta County. And so, because you know, I don't like the option of completely opting out, because I want to be able to use gray water, but in a absolute safe manner. You know, we utilize our groundwater very frequently here in Delta County. And so making sure that if our residents in our community want to use gray water, that they're not going to contaminate and pollute the groundwater, but to be able to do it in a safe manner.
Is your office currently dealing with instances where you are finding that there's public health, safety, and welfare issues currently? I mean, are you getting reports of systems that are failing, that are causing troubles, that are?
No, and that's actually an interesting question, because we really don't get a lot of questions on gray water. We don't get a lot of calls on, you know, whether they can or can't do it. Most people don't even know that we were opted out of gray water, or, you know, that we would prohibit it. It hasn't been really something that seems to be on our community's radar. But I have not had, in the 2 years that I've been in environmental health, a person complain to me about their neighbor having a gray water system.
Well, if we opt in or opt out, the people with existing systems, they would have to bring them up to code, have them engineered, or take them out. Either way.
Either way, yes. So if we were to opt out of the usage of gray water, per regulation 86, it said they would have to uninstall them.
And if we opt in, then they would still have to redo their system.
By regulation 86, correct.
And that's the state saying that.
Correct.
But a county has the option to opt out, develop the regulations they want, and then if that did not work, they could opt in.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what I would believe. Because of those things we just talked about, the enforcement, the extra staffing. The fact that we're not being inundated with people who are worried about laundry to landscape water that's affecting them. These unfunded mandates are, I'm not gonna get into that right now, but they're driving me crazy. So,
Pam, how many systems do you think are out there?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I would, if I were to guess, I would probably say 10 to 15. And mainly, you know, for places that want to utilize their water for their fruit trees and for ground coverage and such, for landscaping, I would say probably 10 to 15.
Because I do remember this board specifically addressing gray water and making it useful for our citizens.
Absolutely.
And we need to do that. In the winter time, do you think many of these systems are functional?
They are not functional during the winter time. You would have to shut them off during the winter. It gets too cold and your lines will freeze. And so part of the engineering process is that there are multiple pieces of the gray water system that you'll have to use, and that one of them is a three-way valve that you will shut off during the winter months. And so really you can only use that gray water during the summer. So if we did Laundry to Landscape, basically it would divert that water back into your OWTS system, your on-site wastewater treatment system.
If we went with a Delta County specific set of regulations, how long would it take to develop those? And I'll look at the director on this one too.
So I have actually built out a program for Laundry to Landscape already. It was already, I've been talking about this with my staff for about a year now. We went to some of these trainings in Denver, and the biggest hiccup, and I've talked to multiple other counties, and the biggest hiccup that we find is that we can implement this, which is great. It's just people aren't going, from what we've seen in the data, people don't show up to actually install a system, to get the permits to do it. That's the biggest hiccup because it costs so much, because the state mandates that with this regulation that you have to have a certified plumber. And so it's going to cost you $5,000 to $8,000. And some of these counties even have rebate programs to where, they have purchased gray water kits specifically for Laundry to Landscape, and people have not come forward. Like the city of Grand Junction has had this put into place for 3 years, and not one person has done their rebate program and or applied for a permit.
What do you think this is, David?
Sam and I have had a lot of conversations about, and she did go to and especially after she went to the educational piece about Laundry to Landscape. I think with being in Western Colorado, understanding that we are in a drought and being able to utilize the water that we have efficiently and safely is a top priority. We want to be safe about it. I think that what I would request is that we go ahead and opt out right now. I think that we would be able, because of Sam and her staff's diligence on trying to be proactive on this. I think we could probably come back to and working with the commissioners to have another resolution for something that meets the needs of Delta County pretty quickly, maybe even in time for the spring where we would be able to do that. So that would be my request and my idea on what we kind of continue to go forward. I think that it's important that we be able to, and like she said, we don't know how many that are out there. People are already doing it. The biggest part that is for us is the manpower or lady power.
Lady power.
To be able
the person power
to be able to go in and enforce this. And these are things that aren't being enforced anyway right now. For those who, like I said, we don't know how many are out there. But I think that to be able to have some standards that for the folks who do want to come in and become standardized, I think that's something we would be able to have in place relatively soon. With the work of our Board of Health as well as the county commissioners.
We really appreciate the time and effort you guys have put into this. You've obviously been thinking about it other than just a dream in the middle of the night. So that's big. Appreciate that a lot. And I mean, the action before us is to adopt this resolution. So what's the next move on our part?
I have one more question. With House Bill 24-1362 on gray water, what were they actually trying to fix?
I think the House bill was put into place so counties had the option of to opt in or opt out of the usage of gray water. And so when they put this House bill, I think they were really pushing gray water, which again, I'm for. I think this gave counties the ability to be able to opt out if they weren't able to enforce. Unlike some of the other House bills that we've seen come through that are just automatically like, you will enforce this, it gave that option of like, of kind of being like, well, we can't do this at this point, but it gives us some leadway to be able to figure out what works for your county and what works for your citizens versus a straight like, all right, this is going to be done. And so this is not a shall be done. It is, let's see what we can do. What I think it fails to do is because it doesn't allow us to create our own program. You know, it still makes you follow what Regulation 86 mandates, but you could be more strict, but not more lenient.
Because there's about 35 different co-signers on this bill, and I'm still not clear on what problem they were trying to fix.
I don't think they were either.
Obviously, then. Okay, then. And anything else, gentlemen? Questions or comments for?
Well, it still comes back down to the people that are using gray water now. Either way, they gotta comply or tear it out. And there's
Yeah,
just,
we're not enforcing.
We have no way to.
We have no way to enforce it, you know, and that's something that I really wanna, you know, really point out is we cannot enforce it. You know, if people have gray water systems, turn it off. You know, but I'm not going to every single home.
oh, yeah.
You know, we don't have, there's 3 of us in my department. You know, and so that's something that, you know, unless their neighbor tells me, and then I'm gonna tell them to turn it off. So.
Resolution.
Motion.
Yeah. I would like to make a motion that we table this resolution and instead we direct the Department of Environmental Health to draft regulation fence for our area. And bring those to us when at the appropriate time we have those ready to look at.
And that we would opt out.
Yeah, we have to opt out at this.
Yeah, we have a deadline here.
Look at. The House 1362, or we do DRS?
I would go with the title here.
There's a resolution in our packet.
Yeah,
Here's the,
this might help you.
Just to start over so the record's clear.
I'll start over.
Thank you.
Scratch whatever I need said. Instead, I will make a motion that we opt out of this resolution
55.
And instead direct the health department.
You got to read the title of the resolution.
We just want to opt out of this whole thing here.
So, Commissioner, can I ask a question?
Yes, you would. Wish you would.
Are you intending on making a motion to adopt that resolution? Or are you making a resolution to do something, or are you making a motion to do something else?
Because we're not going to adopt the resolution.
We have to adopt the resolution if you want to opt out. That's what the resolution is. It's prohibiting the installation of gray water. Then the second part of the motion would be to direct staff to develop Delta County specific regulations so we can opt back in. Does that make sense?
Of course, any individual commissioner can make any motion they want. They do.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure the record is clear. Stan, maybe you could explain what the resolution does.
Sure. So basically, this resolution is we are opting out of allowing Delta County to be able to utilize gray water. So we are prohibiting the usage of gray water with this resolution.
Not with this resolution.
Yes.
With the one that we
With this
provided,
one,
yes, this
provided.
was the prohibiting, installation of gray water treatment in Delta County.
By adopting the resolution,
Yes.
it's the opt-out resolution.
Unfortunately, because if we don't do this on January 1st, 2026, we will be automatically opted in to everything under Regulation 86.
And that includes enforcing.
That includes enforcing, and that includes whole household systems for gray water.
So our resolution is that we are not prohibiting gray water usage in Delta County.
We are prohibiting.
We are, sorry, I meant, yes, we are.
We are prohibiting. gray water.
We are prohibiting.
You're opting in.
Prohibiting and opting out on this mean the same thing.
The state changed the regulatory scheme. They flipped it. Where it used to be an opt-in, which means the county was, or yeah, in the sense the county was choosing to regulate. Now it is flipped. And it is, if you don't do anything, we are opted into regulation automatically January 1st.
Yes.
Environmental Health has made a recommendation to the board to opt out of regulation. In other words, it's a prohibition. And the idea that has been bantered around is that that may be necessary at the time being. And then the board is, of course, can ask environmental health or any other staff that works for the county to work on regulations and come back with some regulations in 2, 3, 4 months, whatever makes sense.
So by adopting this resolution, we are prohibiting the installation of gray water treatment works until such a time as we come up with regulations that would supersede this. Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Correct.
So that's interesting.
But I think the motion should just be on this resolution.
Well, now that, yeah, that makes perfect
And
sense.
then afterwards, we can direct, after we adopt this resolution, we can direct the.
So we're going along with the unfunded mandate until the time as we fill the unfunded mandate. to go
No,
away.
we're not. We're not going along with it. This is saying we are not having gray water in Delta County. So we are prohibiting all gray water. So we're saying we're not regulating Regulation 86. We cannot enforce Regulation 86. We're telling people you cannot have a gray water system in Delta County until we do another motion. So once this passes, no. And then in a few months, we could say, yes.
What's the resolution we're passing?
55.
I will make a motion that we adopt a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Delta, State of Colorado, resolution number 2025 R55, a resolution prohibiting the installation of gray water treatment works and the use of all gray water.
I second that.
Any other discussion? We all clear on this?
Clears. There's gray water.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done. It's obviously the desire of the board today to ask the staff to develop appropriate gray water regulations that are specific to Delta County. And is this something we can complete by the end of first quarter?
Yes, it is.
Sooner the better, but
Absolutely.
let's target that if we could. I appreciate that.
I'm looking at the authorizing statute, Chairman, in regard to adopting regulations in the relatively near future, and statute indicates that the Board of County Commissioners is encouraged to enter, before doing that, in other words, take consideration. The Board of County Commissioners is encouraged to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the local Board of Health, local public health agencies, and any water and wastewater service providers serving the county concerning gray water usage and the proper installation and operation of gray water treatment works.
It's gonna be a lot.
I'm just letting you know.
Obviously, there is some messaging that needs to occur, and Lindsay and Sam, if you guys would work on that so that those individuals that have provided input. There's been significant input provided to this conversation from the public, that they are aware that the county is working on a solution. And this is based on the state legislation and statute, it's deadline, but we are working on a solution.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here on this one. Riley, back to you.
Lindsay, if you'll do the schedule real quick and then we'll move. I mean, if everything is okay, we'll move to 9:30, Sheriff Taylor. Play recognition ahead of from the free time.
John Roy, this is when he's done.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You're at 9.
I'm aware of that.
Which wants to move the sheriff's ahead again.
I don't think that matters. I don't know whether anyone is here for input or online, you know, that's not a problem. It's just becomes a trailing docket, so do whatever you like.
Let's move forward with the scheduling and then ask the sheriff and undersheriff to join us. Lindsay?
Good morning. Today, after this, we have 1:30 to 3:30 work session with Burn and Bridge. A 3:30 to 4:30 Board of Health meeting. And then December 19th, a CCI Renewable Energy Working Group meeting.
Just speak for me.
December 22nd, 1:30 to 2 is a Board of County Commissioners special meeting. No levies.
We're not invited to that one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We just got the 27th this morning, so sorry.
No, I was listening in on that, so.
Yes. And then December 24th, the Delta County and North Fork Annex Administration offices will be closing early at noon. December 25th, the Delta County and North Fork Administrative offices will be closed for Christmas.
What about the 26th?
January 1st, New Year's Day, administration offices will be closed. January 6th is the next Board of County Commissioners regularly scheduled meeting. January 6th, 8 is the Republican Party. January 14th is a CEU Wednesday. January 19th, the Delta County offices will be closed in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. January 20th is the Board of County Commissioners regularly scheduled. Followed by a road and bridge work session and a board of. That gets us through this half of January.
Get that on December 31st. We're having a little open house in our office. We'll have hot chocolate cider and some little goodies. So come see our new updated office. It is open to.
Of course, too, we have to bring our own.
I know, you gotta bring your own goodies or take your shoes off at the door.
What time will that start?
8 to 10.
10 p.m. New Year's Eve? Oh, okay.
The start is 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Well, chocolate and cookies. The public is open. It's on the New Year's
Eve.
in the morning. Anything else, Tom?
For our schedule. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Sheriff Taylor and Under Sheriff Archibald. We have a very special recognition here, and you guys are,
Yep,
we don't know yet. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you.
Thank you, commissioners, for having us over to your house. Appreciate it. As you know, the sheriff's office, whether it's detentions, patrol, dispatch, they do heroic things every day. And occasionally we want to bring it to your attention, public's attention of some of the things that they do. And in this case, we have life-saving measures taking place in the jail. And so Captain Candle wrote up a letter of accommodation, and we'd like to read that to the Board of County Commissioners, and then I'll have some sheriff's accommodations.
Good morning, Captain.
Morning, sir. How are you? How are you guys? Good. So on December 1st, our detention deputies, medical staff encountered an individual in a critical medical distress episode. Without hesitation, they initiated emergency procedures, including CPR, utilizing AED, and clearing the individual's airway. On top of that, we maintain security of the scene. Continuing to render first aid and CPR. It was later confirmed that the deputies and medical staff actions, quick response, saved this individual's life. The actions of Deputy Wagner, Artaz, Vincent, Wolf, and Nurse Mandy Hale saved this person, like I said. They didn't hesitate. I'm going to go off script here a little bit. They got there, they seen what we had, they didn't think twice about it, they took action, and I'm so proud of them, extremely proud of them. So with that being said, in recognition of their outstanding service and life-saving efforts, I'd like to present them a letter of accommodation, which I forgot to bring, so I'll give it to you guys when we get to the jail, so I apologize. But I would like to do that for them at this time. Thank you.
So with that said, we have sheriff's accommodations for each one of them, and the accommodation reads, "It's with great pleasure to present the sheriff's accommodation for extinguishing life-saving action. Delta County Sheriff's Office sincerely appreciates your immediate decisive intervention, initiating emergency procedures to aid in saving an individual's life on December 1st, 2025. This included rendering CPR, utilizing AED, and clearing the individual's airway. Thank you for your commitment, dedication, and upholding the mission, vision, and values of the Delta County Sheriff's Office."
You know, it's not often we get to walk the talk, and you guys certainly do. It's your leadership and your caring that makes us the community that we are. So personally, I thank you on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. It's wonderful and an honor to work with good people like you guys. Thank you. So can I get a picture with them?
I've got one more. I didn't want to leave Captain Cano out. The undersheriff and I went over when this episode was taking place, and it was clear that Captain Cano, with his leadership and direction, you know, everything was flowing just perfect, and thankfully we were able to save that individual's life. So I want to give Captain Cano.
You got to read it first.
Same thing.
Okay. No.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Where's your gun?
They don't want to give me
Thank you.
He should be in the back.
Squeeze it in.
Sheriff, please in here. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dean.
Sure. It's good. Would you like to get a good picture?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
We're gonna have to use that wall over there. Sheriff, get a group picture of everybody on the wall over there with all the families. And the Grinch.
He's got it. Right.
You guys be there first.
I'll do. The young. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Going to come back into session. We'll turn it over to County Attorney John Baird.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. Good evening. We have two items for the board's consideration this morning. The first being the board consideration of assignment of lease regarding Blakefield Airport hangar number 128. This is from Kelts to Kelts. This is a family transfer. Kenneth, Paula, and Brandon is the current lessees, and the lessees going forward will be Brandon and Michelle Kelts. So really just kind of an intrafamilial transfer. So I don't see anything else here. So I would recommend that you approve the assignment lease. Haven't answered any questions if you have those.
And this lease is up to date to our current standards.
Well, yeah, it's 9 years old. So that's pretty,
Okay.
Again, we've been looking at a lot that are hitting that 25-year, and that's why we've been updating this one. This one's still got quite a bit on it.
Okay. Any other questions on this one, gentlemen?
Well, I move that we approve the assignment of lease Blakefield Airport hangar number 128 Kelts to Kelts and authorize the chair to sign.
I will second the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Good morning. I have one other item for the board's consideration this morning. That is a resolution authorizing the right-of-way acquisition near Payne Siding Road, exempting the subdivision from subdivision regulations and authorizing the county attorney to sign closing documents. This is in regard to the Garza parcel that abuts Payne Siding Road. This contract in this situation, it's titled the Memorandum of Agreement, was negotiated and presented by a project resource, which is Matt Cheater. And so this resolution is approves that purchase. It authorizes the chair to sign that memorandum of agreement, and then it authorizes the county attorney to sign the necessary documents to kind of close and complete the process. Happy to answer any questions, or Commissioner Coons, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I don't at this time.
Okay.
Questions, thoughts here, gentlemen?
Thank you, Commissioner Coons, for all your diligence in getting this put together, along with the attorney and other people that are involved in this decision. That will help the county with their future plans in that area and gives us access to a point in the highway where we can turn in and out, and with a good line of sight for the trucks coming and going. But thank you for all your hard work on this.
Sure, but it's way cheaper than.
And that thanks goes to Robbie too. She's been very instrumental.
We'll entertain a motion then.
I will make a motion. You're the entertainer, I'm the provider. I will provide a motion to authorize the right-of-way acquisition near Payne Siding Road, exempting the subdivision from subdivision regulations and authorizing the county attorney to sign the closing documents.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. John, thanks for seeing this through.
Sure, of course. You sign. Actually, I think there, I don't know what that really means, but
Right under grantee.
yeah. Sure, signature on both blocks, just to make sure that we really get it.
We need a number on this.
Yes. Thank you. That's all I had for the board consideration this morning.
Thank you, sir.
There's people.
So it is 12 till 10. We're going to take a short recess here, come back for planning right at 10 o'clock. Thank you. You about ready? We wait till exactly 10 o'clock to accommodate those online.
On my tires.
Well, it is 10 o'clock. Terry, Lindsay, we back? Okay. We will resume the December 16th meeting of the Delta County Board of Commissioners. Before I turn it over to planning, I do have some things I need to enter into the record. This will be the Delta County Detention Facility Population Count Report for December 8th, 2025. Male inmates, County Jail 38. Female inmates, County Jail 8. Male inmates, Department of Corrections 2. Female inmates, Department of Corrections 1, for a total of 49. Average daily inmate population for the week of December 1 through December 8th, 52.85. For Monday, December 15th, male inmates, County Jail 34. Female inmates, County Jail 7. Male inmates, Department of Corrections 2. Female inmates, Department of Corrections 1, for a total of 44. Average daily inmate population for the week of December 8th through the 15th, 52.89. Having completed that, I will turn this over to Mr. Gardner with planning.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Today, I just have one consideration for you. It's PLN 25055 RAU, a vacation plat. To request to vacate the Nate and Sarah subdivision, PLN 23022. The two lots of the Nate and Sarah subdivision are located approximately 2.8 miles north of the town of Cedar Ridge, outside of U-Chip Trail Road, and west of 2465 Lane in the A5 zoning district. A little background will be helpful to hear this case. This subdivision started in 2023. Thank you. Subdivision was started in 2023 under the 21 Land Use Code. On May 31st, 2023, the Board of Adjustment approved 2 variances for undersized lots with 7 conditions. This was this is an A5 zone, and so the lots are going to be under 5 acres, so I had to go to the Board of Adjustment for a variance. On August 21st, 2024, the Nate and Sarah minor subdivision was recorded. And then on October 6th, 2025, we received an application to vacate the subdivision, including the access and the address that were permitted during this for a second residence on that in the second lot, the newly created lot. And then on November 4th, we had this vacation hearing the first time. It was tabled due to the neighbors' objections to the plat. Like I said, this has been a subdivision that's been in contention about easements and some conditions applied by the Board of Adjustment throughout and after the recording of the subdivision. Under the 21 Land Use Code, like I said, you had to go to the Board of Adjustment for variance. And the Board of Adjustment conditionally approved the variance for undersized lots And there are two conditions that they required for the approval that were in dispute were that there shall be a shared access from Ute Trail Road, and the owner shall improve the access to county road standards as determined by the county engineer. And the other one was a shared access and maintenance agreement for the existing 30-foot access easement shall be required prior to accepting the final plat. These two conditions have been a sort of some dispute with Mr. Rao's neighbor to the east, Mr. Story. A road maintenance agreement was never able to be agreed upon, and the exact location of the road improvements was also in conflict. There has also been some contention with the easements as reflected on the subdivision plat. So Mr. Rao has simply decided to vacate the subdivision along with the access permit and the address that were obtained for a residence on lot 2. And the area in this vacation application, though, however, the area dedicated to the county along Ute Trail Road through the platting and acceptance of the Nate and Sarah subdivision shall not be vacated. It's not part of the vacation application.
And that's the hatched area on the map.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Rao would like to return his property boundaries back to the way they were before the subdivision into 2 lots. At the first scheduled hearing, again, the vacation application was originally scheduled for November 4th. We had to table it to today because of these allegations of errors on the vacation plan. Since the decision to table the hearing, planning staff has consulted with surveyors and county attorney about the alleged errors. And as a result of that review, 2 revisions to the vacation plat were made. First, there was a deed, reception number 390268, that was added to the plat notes. This is a deed with an exhibit that contained a legal description of the 30-foot easement depicted on the vacation plat. The second was the southernmost portion of the 30-foot easement that connects the 60-foot public right-of-way to the Story Fray boundary lines was added. So it's the very southern kind of tip of the 30-foot easement that bends to the south east. This is the portion that crosses the 30-foot easement of the Upper Surface Creek Domestic Water Association. So our findings as staff, recommendations for this vacation plat, staff's reviewed the vacation application according to land use code and finds it to be compliant with the standards for vacating of a subdivision. If this vacation plat is accepted today and Mr. Rao continues to develop the residence that was begun on lot 2, the residence will need to be classified as either an ADU, which is an allowed use by right, an accessory dwelling unit, or as a second residence, which would require a limited use permit. But provided it's less square footage than the primary residence, it could be classified as an ADU. Either way, if the residence is built or continue to be built, it will need to apply for new access permit and address. At that time, county engineering will only permit access to that second residence from 2465 road or lane, sorry, and only from a point on that road that is fully within the 60-foot public right of way. With all that said, planning staff recommends that the VOCC instruments find that the vacation plat and letter of intent from the owners of the vacation plat and letter of intent from the owners of 100% of the owners of the 2-lot subdivision, so Mr. Rao owns both lots, meet all applicable standards for the land use code for vacating a subdivision. And to find that the private road access permit 13248 and the 20407 2465 lane address are vacated and repealed with the approval of the vacation of the Nate and Sarah subdivision. Thirdly, to find that all recorded easements for ingress, egress, utility area dedicated to Delta County and previous subdivisions or plattings, including the area dedicated to on Ute Trail Road, through the platting and acceptance of the Nate and Sarah subdivision shall not be vacated, and to approve vacation exhibit titled Vacation Plat PLN 23022 Nate and Sarah subdivision. vacating the Nate Sarah two lot subdivision. That's our recommendation for the board, and that's my report.
Is the applicant here?
The applicant is here?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Rao? Is there any other pertinent details or background you need to get to this board today? And I'd ask you to come forward, sir. Make sure that microphone's on, please. Please introduce yourself and your address.
My name is George Rao. The current address the county gave us is 2493 2465 Lane, Cedar Edge, Colorado, 81413. Any comments that I would have to make would probably be of a personal nature, and I think that they would be inappropriate in this meeting. So therefore, everything that has presented is pretty much where we are.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions for?
May I say something later if that comes up?
Yes.
Thank you.
You signed up for public comment on this?
Yes.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Gardner on this, gentlemen?
None at this point.
Not at this time.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up for public comment then. When I call your name, let me know if you'd still like to provide public comment. Please come forward, have a seat, introduce yourself and where you live. So the first would be Mr. Walter Kennedy.
Can I comment later?
You've signed up, sir.
Okay. So I represent the estate of Lucretia Kennedy, who was the sole owner.
Please introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Walter J. Kennedy. I'm the executor and the attorney for the estate of Lucretia Kennedy, who until she died on May 28th this year was the owner of this property. And as I said, also my mother, and they purchased their property 40 years ago, a few days after this subdivision plat was approved by Delta County in 1984. No mention was made by Mr. Gardner of our participation in this, but our main concern is that if you look at the plat, that we are at the end of this 60-foot access easement. And so we've always had an interest in the unfolding of this, and we've had 4 or 3 main concerns, and they haven't changed. One was that whatever plat finally gets recorded, whether in the courts of this subdivision or for vacating it, that those plats be accurate representations of the dedications and the easements on there, and that's been an issue throughout. The second have been the other 2 conditions mentioned by Mr. Gardner in the Board of Adjustments decision, which was actually May 25th, 2023. And Carl Holmes sent out a letter on June 3rd, 2023 that outlined the conditions for approval of that subdivision. And 2 of those conditions, well, one of them was that we have a properly approved plat and that it be accurate. But the other 2 were what Mr. Gardner said, which is that the road be improved to county standards, and that there be an access agreement. Nothing happened for 1.5 years after that. Then I guess the Stories received a memo from Mr. Gardner that contained, and I understand he was new to the job at the time, it contained a number of misstatements that bothered me. So I sent a letter to Mr. Baer addressing some of those inaccuracies, like it wasn't an agreement that the section of the road that needed to be approved was not accurately described. It was a 10-page letter, and I know that was, I think, December 5th, 2024. And then on December 17th, 2024, Planner Kate Kurt sent a letter to the Rows reminding them of their duty to upgrade the road and also to enter into a maintenance agreement and set deadlines for those. I think it was February 1st for the maintenance agreement and May 1st for completing the upgrade of the road. None of those deadlines were met. And again, Ms. Kurt's letter came more than a year and a half after Carl Holmes' letter describing what needed to be done. When Mr. Holmes sent out that letter on June 3rd, 2023, it had a right to appeal, and at 10 days, if we disagreed with anything, we felt that we could live with the restrictions that Delta County had put on the routes, mainly the improvement of the road and an access or a maintenance agreement. And so we didn't appeal it to the county commissioners. We were fine with that and we relied on it. And this vacation came as a surprise. As an aside, it does say that notice was sent out, but neither we nor the Stories received notice. It's just the Stories saw the public notice posted on Ute Trail Road and told us this was happening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known at all because our address is my mother's P.O. box in Boulder. But anyway, we relied on those restrictions that were in that 2023 letter by Carl Holmes and were repeated again by Planner Kate Kirk. And the circumstances on the ground haven't changed. There's still going to be use of that road, and according to Mr. Graham, it can be used as an ADU. So our concerns remain, which is maintenance of the road and that it be improved. The Rouse proposed a maintenance agreement, as did the Stories attorney. The Stories attorney, Mr. Conish, was fine with us. The Rouse objected to it, saying that it was none of our business whether the road was brought up to standard or not. But as somebody signing on to a maintenance agreement, we need to know the baseline of the road that we're going to maintain. And so they were, in their comments on our proposal, cut out all references to what the level of the road would be that we would be agreeing to maintain. So that's something that we were uncomfortable with. And I think right now, there are also problems still with the plat. And I think that the Rose will address, or not the Rose, but the Stories will address that with their witnesses. But that's, I was anticipating coming in last or something because we're just an owner down the road. But we have been consistently using this road since 1984. We have a house on it, and I think that's any questions for me. I'm finished with my presentation.
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Thomas, is that Sylvester?
It might be appropriate to allow some of these witnesses or to kind of order themselves because they may have built it that way. Up to you. I would just kind of recommend that may be an appropriate thing to do.
Thank you, John. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Thomas W. Sylvester, 925 20 Road, Fruita, Colorado. And what else do you need?
That's fine.
For the introduction.
Who are you representing today,
Okay. And I've been working with the Stories for the last couple of years on surveying matters concerning the Nate and Sarah subdivision plat, how it may or may not affect them. And I appreciate commissioners from allowing me to speak to you folks today and what have you. I'm going to be working off of kind of my cheat sheet and what have you, but I have some copies for the commissioners if that's appropriate.
Yes.
As far as a background, I am a professional engineer and a professional land surveyor in the state of Colorado. So I feel like I have the qualifications to be able to discuss the issues that have been brought forth in the past. And like I say, I appreciate the opportunity. On the proposed Nate and Sarah subdivision vacation plat, the previous meeting, as was mentioned, was tabled until today because of some ambiguities regarding access easements. I take a look at the proposed plat that we have in the markup, and it is much improved. And that I appreciate the way that has gone. The planning department review indicated 2 notes were added, as you talked about this morning. One, the deed at reception number 390268 was added to the plat notes. And this is a deed with an exhibit that contains a legal description of 30-foot easement depicted on the vacation plat. Note, this is a deed from Louise Frey to William Frey in 1981. And then the second note that they put was the southernmost portion of the 30-foot easement that connects the 60-foot public right-of-way to the Story Frey boundary lines was added. This is a portion that crosses the 30-foot easement for Upper Surface Creek Domestic Water Association, and this allows access to the Williams Frey property abutting such easement. At this stage of my review, I am very comfortable about where things are going. It looks like we have the issue solved. However, when you take a look at the proposed Nate and Sarah subdivision vacation plat, a change was made to the note in the leader that points to that 15 feet of the western 15 feet of the Story property. It does not show it as reception number 390628. It refers to it as a book and page, which ties to reception number 3902688, which is the Frey exemption plat. In reviewing some of the early documents, and I don't know what all the planning department reviewed, but we were able to get a hold of some documents of a report by Mr. Schaaf and Mr. Hatter. They had some concerns and made some speculations or determinations in their opinions that the Frey subdivision plat dedicated certain roads to the public. I disagree with that statement, and the fact if it ends up on the plat, I think we still are going to be back in this easement controversy type of a situation. My biggest concerns on this is that one, the planner's report and the Nate and Sarah subdivision plat are not consistent with each other, and they should be. In other words, if the planner's saying one thing and the survey is saying something else, they should be made to jibe. And two, as I mentioned, the Schaaf had a report, I believe, presents some contrary and, in my opinion, wrong opinions on the information depicted on the Frey exemption plat. Some of the background, I think some timelines and things like that are important. In approximately 1972, Mrs. Louise Frey conveyed properties to her sons, Robert Frey and William Frey, which are John Story owns one of those properties now. William Frey's is the southernmost one. And this is the easement that we were talking about that needed to extend and show that it goes to those properties. They are located south and east of the Pipeline Road and south of John's primary residence, John Story's primary residence. There was no access easement that was conveyed with those deeds. However, being family, I'm sure apparently mutual access was agreed upon in the family and what have you, so there was no controversy at that point in time. In 1980, Louise Frey and her son Lawrence Frey completed a property division by an exemption plat that was recorded at the reference number 389125. This is the Frey exemption to the plat that we referred to. A copy of that is part of the packet that I gave you. It is I'll hold it up real fast so you can identify it, so that you can see some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Page 1 is a map of the Frey holdings, and clearly showing that there's a parcel A and a parcel B on the plat that are being created. Page 2 represents the legal description of those two parcels being created by this exemption plat. Going back to page 1, the page of if I could refer to it and refer to the map, there is what I call the northerly triangle that they were dividing into a part A and a part B. The rest of the survey has nothing to do with this exemption plat. Okay. Item 3 is the signature page of the process. And as I mentioned, the Frey holdings are all the Frey holdings, including the William Frey property, the Robert Frey property, and everything else they have, including that northern triangle that they were trying to split into two pieces. On that plat, they show an easement coming down 15 feet each side of the common line on the western line of that triangle, down to and abutting for access to the Robert Frey property and the William Frey property. Even though this was not part of the exemption plat per se of approving a parcel A and a parcel B, it is showing, and as Mr. Messenger, even though nothing had been granted for an easement at this point in time, it is an apparent easement, and he was depicting that as an apparent easement, and as a surveyor, he's required to show all easements apparent and of record on a survey plat. So I believe that is why that is being shown on that plat. Page 2, as I discussed, is, and most people can't read survey language and what have you, but it is the legal description that divide that northern triangle into its two pieces of a part A and a part B. And then we get to the page 3, the certification of ownership and dedication block by Louise Frey and Lawrence Frey. In it, it states, and I feel I need to read that full statement. It's not a long statement, but I need to read the full statement because of some of the implications of what may or may not happen about a road. The parcel shown on the previous page being the legal descriptions of the plat, are authorized as a boundary adjustment exemption to the subdivision regulations of Delta County, Colorado. A further division of the property must be processed in accordance with the appropriate county regulations in effect at the time the split is requested. The parcels are located in an agricultural area. Normal agricultural activities will be continue unabated in the surrounding area and must not be basis for a lawsuit except in cases of proven gross negligence. This emphasizes that the process is dealing only with the northern triangle being divided into two parcels. Although the heading uses the words certificate of ownership and dedication as a block heading title, which is very common on various different types of surveys that are done. There is no dedication language anywhere in the written document. So even though there is a block for owner statement and dedication, nothing was dedicated. So this is where I differ from the other surveyors that this document did not dedicate anything to the public. In 1981, within 2 months after this plat was filed, there was a series of about 6 deeds back and forth among the Frey family, basically sorting out who gets what, how, why, and where. Robert Frey and William Frey each got a new deed. My interpretation, it's a much better written deed. The description is much better. I think it was used just to clarify any ambiguities that may be in the written deed. But both the Robert Frey and the William Frey deeds, and the William Frey deed is the one that was referenced by the planners, specifically called out together with, and they describe this 30-foot access easement. Excuse me. And I think, in my opinion, that is a remnant of the western 15 feet. I mean, it's not the remnant, it's still the access easement of the western 15 feet of the Story property. So the planning statement that is what is represented on the western 15 feet, I agree is a proper statement to be there and should be what is shown on that leader, and not indicated that it's something else. In 1981, Louise Frey sold the rest of her property to John and Darlene Story, with the exception of this northerly triangle. And about 3 or 4 years later, in 1984, John and Darlene subdivided that property into that exemption class, parcel A and parcel B. And in that, they dedicated rights of way to the public, cross parcel A with a note that states common access easement to parcel in Buck 437 at Pet H 802 and 803 to be combined with a 30-foot wide easement being dedicated for public use. The 802 and the 803 are the two Frey brothers properties. And the common access easement, I believe, is the common access easement that is on the Frey exemption plat. This is the source of the public right-of-way that falls on the current right-of-way property. However, note that since one cannot sell or encumber what one does not own, it's a basic, I'm sure, law tenant, but survey tenant and what have you, the Stories could not include the 15-foot strip along the west side of the Lewis Frey property in the Northern Triangle. That was private property, that it was maybe part of that common easement, but as Mr. and Mrs. Story had no right to grant that 15 feet to the public. So as such, it did not get granted to the public at that point in time. In another report, or part of the report of the Shop Hatter report, they note that on the Story exemption plat, that Mrs. Frey signed that plat as well, trying to imply that she was agreeing with the dedication of some strip on her property. If you look at that plat closely and the signature closely, she's signing as a mortgagee. Okay, it's no different if the First National Bank is signing on that deed. She is not dedicating any land elsewhere for it, and I don't believe that she in any way intended to dedicate that 15 feet on her property to the public.
How do you know that, sir?
Pardon?
How do you know what she intended?
The word one, she is not the owner of the property being subdivided. The dedication is for the land being subdivided, and therefore the 15 feet is not on the land being subdivided. She can't be dedicating a piece of property on a totally separate document. Okay. And I believe her signature on that plat is strictly as a mortgagee and has nothing to do with the dedications. In conclusion, the proposed Nate and Sarah subdivision vacation plat should properly show the correct 15-foot easement encumbering the John and Darlene Stories westerly line. Why that is necessary throughout all the language of the vacation plat, it says, except it's going to vacate that plat, bring us back to square one before everything started, except all dedicated rights of way would be recognized. And there still is a differences of opinion on, not on the strip on the north, the crosshatch mark area that you guys are talking about, but there still is some controversy over what is dedicated by the story exemption plat, back in 1984. That needs to be resolved. My recommendation, and request of you folks is, one, you either, table the application until any such controversies regarding the access easements are resolved. And again, recognizing it's not your position to resolve these types of things, it's your position to protect the citizens of Delta County and to be sure things are resolved before they get approved and things of that nature, but not necessarily, you're not the trier of in a court, things of that nature. Or number two, approve the Nate and Sarah subdivision vacation plat with conditions, with the imposed conditions to include, one, properly labeling the access easement and covering the western 15 feet of the stored property, and making it clear on said plat that such 15-foot easement is not a part of the currently dedicated right-of-way. And I know that other folks that have testified before or after may have other recommendations they may want to make too. Any other questions from you folks? You know where we are in this.
Thank you, Mr.
I appreciate your questions.
Mr. John Story. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lane, Coons, Mr. Fuller. John Story. Address is 20450 2465 Lane, Cedar Ridge, Colorado, 81413. Thank you all for hearing my concerns on this. I would just like to present to you a little bit more intense timeline on this subdivision, if you will. 1984, that's already been said. A very forward-thinking county commissioner, Mr. John Hawkins, had asked us if we wanted to subdivide this, would we dedicate a 60-foot right-of-way down through there for future development, such as a time as we are in right now. Which we did. We jumped through all the hoops. We made it happen the best that we possibly could. We did end up selling that piece of property at a very significant loss due to financial loss due to that public right-of-way being dedicated in there. In 1993, the Rouse purchased the lot from another individual with the public right-of-way in place, as well as a private easement that serves only the Story Freight lots, as has been pointed out. In 2021, the Rouse applied to subdivide their lot in order to sell a lot to their son. At the very first Board of County Commissioners meeting concerning that subdivision, Mr. Coons, you asked for an access and a maintenance agreement be put into place, and that they were told at that point they would have to bring this road up to county standards. Which their representative, Mr. Ken Schaaf, agreed and said that the Rouse understood. And this is all hearsay. It's not hearsay. This is in public meeting notes. You can go find it for ourselves if we have to. So over the next 7 to 8 months, the Rouse were asked by planning to provide an access and maintenance agreement, given extension after extension, and only produced one agreement that was not even legal and is now, only now, being revoked by the Rouse. On August 30th of 2022, after even more time and more extensions, planning let the application expire because nothing was being done with this agreement. May of 2023, the Board of Adjustments approved the subdivision with 7 requirements. 2 of the requirements of all things were an access maintenance agreement and the road built up to county standards. August of 2023, the final plat was signed off by all concerned people within planning and county government. Whereas at minimum 4 of the requirements had been met, 2 of the requirements had not been met or even pursued. No access maintenance agreement, and definitely no road was built. Construction of a home was being started and construction traffic using access that crossed onto Darlene and John Story's property, not within the 60-foot public right-of-way at all. All this time, the Stories were not in opposition of the subdivision or of a house being built, full well expecting that the requirements were going to be met. December 17th, 2024. That's a year ago. Tomorrow, Kate Kirk sends a letter to Mr. Rao stating that due to an inadvertent error on behalf of planning, 2 of the requirements had not yet been met, and they would grant them an extension due to weather, because we can't build roads in Colorado in the winter, apparently. I'm not real sure where that goes, but she gave them till February 1st of 2025 to come up with road building plans and to create an agreement, a maintenance agreement, as well as detailed plans for the building of the road, and gave them till May 1st to build the road. Get it up to county standards number 10. And yet, here we are today. No agreement, no road, no plans for building a road, and this application being put forward with my name on there saying that it's because of continuous disputes. I don't see this as a dispute with a neighboring property. I see this as a dispute with not wanting to meet county requirements and regulations. One more point to add. We've never been in opposition of this subdivision going in or happening. We just asked them to do it within what you, the county, had asked them to do as far as regulations and requirements. That being said, I would like to reserve some time for later if necessary. And do you have any questions for me?
Questions, commissioners?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Story.
Thank you.
Mrs. Darlene Story.
Good morning. My name is Darlene Story. Our reallocated address is 20450 2465 Lane, formerly 24714 Ute Trail Road. In 1984, when we subdivided our property, Delta County required us to establish a 60-foot easement. As John said, we jumped through all the hoops to do whatever we needed to do to put the money forth. We built the first 375 feet of the road, allocated the 60-foot easement. We honestly did not know that we were doing anything except following county standards. This history matters because it reflects who we are. And I also would like to allocate some extra time at the end if needed on a personal basis of what this has done to us. We feel we've been reasonable, responsible, and committed to doing what's required. To now be portrayed as the reason for vacating this feels very unfair to us because it's been almost 5 years of us dealing with this, feeling like our voted representatives. My husband would send emails, met with just about every person here, and getting nowhere. We are now over $40,000 in legal expenses. This is our inheritance that we want to pass on to our children and our grandchildren. It feels so incredibly unfair to us that, yeah, it has been a sense of contention, but never the subdivision being. We just wanted it done properly. For 4 years, we've faced repeated attempts to avoid building the required road according to county standards by the Rouse. There's been efforts to eliminate the 60-foot easement, claims of alternate access, that we shouldn't even be using the driveway that we built. And then, as John brought up, the inadvertent error. Most recently, the applicant seeks to vacate the subdivision process, calling the property vacant land. It's not vacant land, as was brought up. Throughout the process, we've provided documentation, surveyor letters, met with planning staff repeatedly, only to be told we're only one person. We can only do what we can do. I've seen a lot being done by one person willing to stand for what's right. We'll continue to do our best to stand for what's right and to protect what we want to pass down to our children and grandchildren. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions, commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Story. Kenny Schaaf.
And Schaaf, 1205 H Lane, Dublin, Colorado. How are you guys this morning?
Good morning.
Good. Let me first start by addressing Mr. Sylvester's letter. This is not a surveying issue. The survey is perfectly fine, the boundaries. This is an access issue. And we've listened to the broad interpretation of Mr. Sylvester's opinion as to what he believes the intent of these documents are. Quite simply, it's recorded documents. I'd like to address the additional 15-foot and Mrs. Frey signing on the story exemption plat. This simply, Mr. Sylvester has stated that John did not own that property. That is very true. But in order to clarify the combination of the 30-foot easement, which Louise Frey gave to the county in the dedication, and dedication is a very simple word, it has a very simple meaning. In order for her to clarify, she did not sign that plat as the intent of the mortgage holder. She signed that plat with the intent, we believe, and this is multiple surveyors, of clarifying that 30-foot to be combined with the additional 30-foot to the county. So there was a clarification of her signing that plat. That is not Mr. Sylvester's opinion, but that is multiple surveyors' opinions. And we have reached out to multiple surveyors in this case, and I believe the county has something from a different surveyor as well that refers to this as it's not a survey issue. This is a easement issue or a dedication issue solely. As far as the Rouse, I've worked with them quite readily on this. And the testimony you guys have heard that there have been resistance. There has been resistance. There's been pushback. Mr. Story signed an application to have the road vacated in 2001 with Mr. Rao. This has a very long and colorful history that's going back between neighbors. Now, I will not speak to the neighbors because I cannot, but I can speak that in public meetings, these ones right here, that Mr. Story has stated the same thing. He doesn't have any problem with this subdivision. Yet he seems to have a problem with this subdivision because we're here today. In essence, the long and short though is multiple LSs have looked at this, multiple LSs have written to this, and multiple LSs agreed that this is not a survey problem. This is a legal issue. Was it dedicated? Is it dedicated? And that access going in and out. That's quite simple. It doesn't pertain to surveying at all. And like I said, Mr. Sylvester has made recommendations. I think those recommendations that he's made to a surveyor, myself, to change the plat has overstepped his bounds in the discretion and supervision clause of what we surveyors do. There was no authority to ask for that. And I probably reserve the right to turn him onto our board for that. I've not made a decision. I'm not going to lie to you about that. I've not made a decision where to go, but it is quite simple. A civil issue between Delta County, whether the dedications existed, and Upper Surface Creek. That's the two easements that are out there. With that, I don't have much else to say. I agree with planning's decision to vacate. We are just vacating the subdivision, going back to the original boundary of what the Rouse owned. And that's all this is about, is vacating. With that, thanks, guys. You got any questions?
Questions here, gentlemen?
Not at this point.
So Mr. Schaaf, you're telling us that the map we have in front of us, the vacation plat, all the surveying on this is accurate. It's the interpretation of the exemption plat that is in question.
That is correct.
And it is only referring to the 15 feet easement on the west side of Story, east side of Route on that boundary line.
I believe it's referring to that is correct with the phrase.
North-south.
Yes.
section.
The rest of the recorded documents speak for themselves, the exemption
The
plats. and
surface
everything
creek,
else.
it's irrelevant to this discussion.
Exactly.
Okay. Also shown on this vacation plat is a gray line or a gray road that meanders at that corner onto Mr. Story and then back to the southwest.
Yes.
How long has that road been there?
I can't testify to the length of time the road has been there. I can testify to the time it was shot and shown on that platting. That has been since 2001. We actually went in and shot it. My personal opinion, it's probably been there for 20, 30 years as far as the looks and
So
usage
minimum
of it.
2001.
Yeah, but beginning of 2001, we can
Almost 25
testify,
years.
yes.
Okay. Any other questions, gentlemen? Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. Rao, you indicated you have a question mark as whether you'd like to speak to us this morning.
Can you give me just a moment?
You have.
Is my name on
Do you have other people that want to speak?
Your name? Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just want to make sure.
You were, I missed you at the very top. Would you like to join Mr. Rao? If you're representing him?
Yeah.
My apologies.
Well, let me start, but I did not know what kind of can of worms we were gonna open up when we.
Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. George Rao, address is 2493, 2465 Lane, Cedar Edge, Colorado, 81413. I did not know what kind of can of worms we were gonna open up when we just wanted to give our kids some land to build a house. Their intent was to move up here and take care of my daughter-in-law's mother and father who lived down in Montrose. It became an extended situation, and when we applied for the subdivision, we went through the process the county told us to do. We have tried, although it has been told otherwise, we have tried to comply with everything the county told us. We would write up a maintenance agreement, send it to John and his lawyer. They would counter, we would counter, they would counter, we would counter, to the point that the lawyer would no longer talk to us about anything. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but in the Board of Adjustment thing, there were two issues. One was the maintenance agreement, the other was the building of the road. Two separate issues. The building of the road should not be part of the maintenance agreement because it's not a maintenance agreement. The building of the road, we actually got a work order from the county to do that, but because of pushback, it complicated things and that was never done.
Could we address the vacation plat here, sir?
Pardon me?
We need to address the vacation
Well,
plat here.
that leads us to where we are today. Because of the situations that arose and the kids weren't able to do what they wanted to do in a timely fashion in order to help their parents. Yes, they had started something, but it got to the point, okay, we can't continue on with this. Prices went down on their home, what they were counting on. Different things happen. Both parents died in the meantime, one down in Phoenix and the other here in Montrose. So it was decided in the family that, well, my wife and I paid the kids for what they had invested. We got the lot back in our name, and now we're asking for that to be vacated so we can go back to square one. The hardest part for me and the worst part for me is over this all, I don't know how we did it, or I don't know how it came about, but we lost friends. And that I totally regret. That's all I've got.
Any questions for Mr. Rao?
No.
Mrs. DeConish, I'm gonna ask if Mrs. Rao had anything to add to this, and I'll get to you.
Thank you. Actually, no. I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, please join us, and I again apologize, I missed your name initially.
No problem. There's a lot of names on that list. Thank you for Chair and Commissioners for taking the time to hear this today. I appreciate your patience and your thoughtfulness. Also appreciate staff working with us to make some changes to the vacation plat that were important, and we really appreciate those items being addressed. Also very much appreciate the representation here that the access for the new structure, once that access permit is applied for, will be within the 60-foot right-of-way. That's a very important issue for the stories. I'm so sorry. I'm Shelley DeConish. I represent John and Darlene's story. I'm an attorney with Defford Waldeck in Grand Junction. I'm sorry, I forgot to start with that. I sent you a letter on October 29th, 2025, and I don't see that in the packet. Has that letter been provided to you? And if not, can I give you one here today? Okay. This is just a housekeeping item, really. Because I'm going to be referring to the things that we request in that letter. Appreciate you making that part of the record. I also have some photos here that I'd like to share that show how close the portion of the existing driveway road is to their house, where it jogs outside of the 60-foot dedicated right-of-way. Hopefully those will be helpful and informative. I think this really also, I don't know the whole history. I'm a latecomer to the whole story, but I was originally contacted because they were beginning construction, and the Rows were beginning construction, or the Koshmans, I'm not sure. And they were using that driveway portion of the road with a lot of construction equipment. It was disruptive to their residents. So I think that's a big part of the concern. The vacation plat does still show an error that we'd like to be addressed. And that is, it implies that the Fry Story easement is a public easement. It refers to the Fry exemption survey as creating a public easement, and we don't believe that is the case. So that is one change we would like to see, if possible, on the vacation plat.
Exactly where is that on our vacation plat? Is that north-south?
It refers to it's the text that refers to the dedication language.
The one that's referred to as book 487, page 792?
Yeah. Yes, I believe that refers to the exemption plat.
Okay. Wanna make sure.
We would like that to refer to the conveyance instrument, which conveys a private easement for those properties. And for the reasons set forth in the letter, we also request that if you approve the vacation of the Nate and Sarah subdivision, which we don't object to in principle by any means, that you do so with the conditions set forth in the letter, or direct county staff to make those conditions of an access permit when one is applied for a new residence that has been under construction. The road in its current condition and location is insufficient for an additional residence under the county's land use code and under general law. The existing road, because it was constructed as a driveway, really, to the Story and Kennedy residences, it veers outside the public demarcated right of way, and that portion shouldn't be used. And we'd just like to make sure that there's follow through on that, and we appreciate that. In addition, we request that if and when they apply for an access permit, that they be required to make improvements to the road up to the county standards for a local access road. The increased use of the road by the residents is going to make what's there now unsafe and insufficient and overburdened. It needs to have a better road base, greater width, better grading, improved culverts, and all the requirements set forth in the county code for a local access road. Let's see, a lot of these were already addressed, so I'm just going through my notes. Also, we would still like the condition to be that if they are going to be using the lane that Story and Kennedy constructed for access to the new residents, that they be required to share in the maintenance expenses in a proportionate manner. I regret that we weren't able to come to a maintenance agreement with the subdivision condition. We did try, I think both parties tried, but there were just a few outstanding items that we couldn't pin down, but I don't see that there was any bad faith on the part of Story in that regard. We were mainly just trying to make sure that it ran with the land and that it established a baseline of what was going to be agreed upon for future maintenance obligations, so the owners would know what they were agreeing to. Even if there are some prescriptive rights for other owners for that little jog there, we do not believe that the Rouse would have the benefit of those rights, because this would be a totally new residence, and those prescriptive rights are limited to the use of the road in the past. But I think that can all be resolved if the access point, the access road is within the 60-foot right-of-way. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
For Mrs. DeConis here. Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak that I did not get a chance to call on? Does anybody who has spoken have any additional data that the commissioners or the planning needs to hear today? Okay. I'm going to close the public comment period on this. Mr. Gardner, we've heard a little bit of data here, a lot of data. In your recommendation, did anything you hear today change your mind or change the outcome of this?
There were two things. First, the conditions of a future access permit, if Mr. Rao were to continue with the residents, being applied as conditions to the vacation application or vacation plat approval, if you choose to approve, doesn't seem appropriate. I mean, we heard those, and we intend to, future access permits applied for be entirely in the 60-foot right of way and nowhere outside of that. And only joining to a portion of 2465 road, I believe it is, where that road is entirely within the right of way. So I believe that we can deal with that in a future access application appropriately and get very carefully. And assuming that if it were done soon, or we're all here as the same people, that should be very clear and easy to do. And that would be standard practice. You might not think that's correct. So I don't think that needs to be applied as a condition to a vacation of a subdivision application or plan. The other thing with the westerly 15 feet of the right of way, whether or not it belongs in the right of way or not, the westerly's 15 feet of Mr. and Mrs. Story's property. That is a matter of legal interpretation. I guess I heard a couple of things. one of the things I heard was that the intent, what the request was of the commissioner at the time was to create a 60-foot right of way. So the contention is that that did not happen in one portion of this. That's not very clear from here. If that was the intent, was to not include, or if it was not legal to include that, then errors were made perhaps in the past, but I believe the intent.
In
was clear.
1984.
Right, and I believe the intent was clear though. That there was the request to create that and there was the effort made to do that. And so we reviewed this, I'll let John chime in if he would like.
He will come in, yeah.
On that, but
We're not
our
letting him off
conclusion
the-
was that this was a 60-foot right of way that was dedicated to the county. So that's a matter for your consideration of whether or not you believe that that was properly done or not, it needs to be corrected. Those are the two things that I've taken away from all the comments.
So, Sean, if this vacation plat was granted and a new access address came in, request came in for the south half of the Rao property, you said everything, the new access road will be entirely upon the Rao property in that 60-foot easement.
That's right. And I
Will
can-
there need to be an access and or a construction and maintenance agreement then with the neighbors on this? That's been a point of contention, I understand.
I would kind of prefer that Tim maybe address that question, if that's all right, as county engineer. Are you comfortable with that?
In practice, we have not done that for second residences or ADUs. I would refer to the land use code to make that decision. With discussion with the attorney on interpretation. I don't know today on that.
I think the land use code, and I can pull it up, but it says that development shall have a road maintenance agreement. So it would be a matter of determining whether we consider, if it's an ADU that's continuing to be constructed or a second residence, that would be considered development. So it would be appropriate to have one. We've had this situation in the past, though, where we have a continued impasse there where the parties can't agree upon it. And then it leaves us in a situation where we can't move ahead with granting an access permit or whatever the application is before us. Because there's this unresolved, there's no agreement reached on road maintenance. I think some of the complexity of a road maintenance agreement here is also perhaps defining how far down would Mr. Rao be, liable for, bringing up the road to any kind of improvements or what, and then the allocation of like cost sharing for the maintenance, that has to be worked out among all the property owners using the access, but it's quite a complex thing and with neighbors to work that out and to come to an agreement. And I don't have anything more to say about that. I'm just rambling now. Sorry.
Other questions, Joan? I'm gonna call on Mr. Bear here in a minute.
Go ahead, John.
John, my question is, on the west side of Story, there's a 15-foot easement shown that seems to be in question on whether it was officially conveyed back in 1984.
So first of all, Chair, I think everyone needs to acknowledge, and I think they do, but maybe I'm just summarizing that.
Please do.
That in the last number of months, there has been, and everyone knows there's been contention, that's fine. The parties on, or the positions on kind of what is represented on the plat have been very far apart. And now we're down to really one issue. And we heard that from Mr. Sylvester as well. as well from Ms. DeConish, that really, the survey plat type issues are really down to this one issue that you just mentioned from the 1984 plat. Well, it goes before that and then the history of that and so on. So first of all, that's what I'd like to just kind of represent there. If you look at the vacation plat as presented, we also need to keep in mind, so really what the story is asking for right now is to change the plat note language, as well as maybe an acknowledgement that it's a private rather than a public easement at this point. I'll point everyone's attention to the plat notes and documents, which is a note that's just kind of straight down from that area. That does reference, I heard nothing today that would contradict the idea that all of the relevant documents are referenced there. So they are referenced there. Every plat's gonna have open some interpretation and that sort of thing. And surveyors, after everyone in this room are gone and away, will be interpreting this plat as well. So there is controversy, or there is a disagreement clearly between the applicant and the applicant surveyor and Mr. Sylvester here. There's been at least half a dozen surveyors who've looked at this as well. Okay. And I've looked at this, and I do think that's the controversy. I think that's the only controversy at this point. I think that there's enough language within the 1984 language on that 1980. Sorry, am I saying the right one? Yes, the 1984 plat to interpret that the intent was the 60-foot easement on there. I'm comfortable recommending that to the board. Is that an absolute? Well, nothing's ever absolute, but I think that there's plenty of language in there to make that interpretation here. I think that's really, as Sean said, I think Sean just made a very good point, kind of summarizing that was the intent even with Commissioner Hawkins. So we heard today, back in the 80s, Commissioner John Hawkins. And so anyways, so that's where we're at with that. I will bring to the courts, or apologies. You're sitting as a quasi judicial body, so there you go. It's almost a court. And so I'll bring to the board's attention about the survey here. Were you gonna bring that up, or you want me to bring that up?
I was not ready to sign the flag. Yeah.
Well, it needs to be added. I think that the plat itself that has been presented, the vacation plat, I think it just neglected to put a county surveyor signature block on it. That needs to be added.
Questions for John?
I have none.
John, I'm hearing you indicate that the 15-foot public easement on the west side of Story has enough historical background to say that it is a valid easement.
I'll clarify that has been dedicated to the public.
Yeah.
I think there's enough information to make that interpretation.
And then I also heard from Sean that if there is to be a public road there, that it would be built to county standards, but entirely upon the existing rail property. And that's 60-foot easement.
Entirely within the 60-foot public right of way.
On the rail.
Yeah, and on a portion of 2465 road that is entirely within that right of way, not a portion of it right of way.
I would like to make clarification. I have not implied that local road standard upgrading 4 additional units to a property.
Not to an ADU.
Not to an ADU.
If it
in the
applied to-
subdivision process, yes.
Well, we've heard a lot of comments today about roads, and right of ways, road standards and maintenance agreements and all that kind of stuff. And it's unfortunate that we've gotten to this point of such differences of opinions. If this was going to go forward in its present form as a subdivision, those questions would have to be answered in a timely manner. Again, I don't know why it's taken so long to kind of alleviate some of those issues, but aside from that, the issue before us today is this vacation request. And so that kind of puts all that other stuff, in my opinion, to rest for now. And so I don't know how we can not grant this request for a vacation. I mean, we're eliminating this two parcels, making it become one again. And that simply is the matter before us today. It's other things being put to the side for now. The Rouse are giving up, a dream that they had, I guess, to make this two parcels. Enough time has gone by that their situation has changed. But the fact remains that they're giving up what they started, going back to where, as Mr. Rowe himself said, starting over from ground zero. So if anything changes from this point forward, then those other issues automatically come right back. But right now, I don't think we can deny what we have before us. Yes, that's just my comment.
Anything?
No,
If we accept this vacation, Greg, it means that we are also accepting that easement on the west side of Story is valid. You understand that? Because I own the plat.
I was listening to that conversation as well.
I wanted to
I'm
make sure we're
comfortable
clear
with,
on that.
I'm comfortable.
So Commissioner, let me clarify maybe my comments and clarify that. The plat note, that even if it's there, and I know the plat note is under question, whether it should say that or should say something else. It references a relevant recorded document of this, and then also the plat notes down low are referencing other relevant documents. I don't know that accepting this plat, there's no new dedication here. There's no determination, affirmative determination on the language of the plat. And I may be wrong. I'm kind of speaking off the cuff here, trying to figure out. This is just referencing existing documents. If those existing documents continue to be up for interpretation, then they are up for interpretation.
But would indicate that this board acknowledges the historic dedication of that easement. That's what I'm trying to point out.
Nobody's questioning, I don't think anyone's questioning the dedication of the easement. But what is being questioned is whether the easement later or at some point became a public dedication or a dedication to the public.
I think you and I are talking at this the same way, but.
Well, I don't see anything on the plat that where the county is saying we are declaring that that portion is part of the public right of way. Having said that, I think that there probably for many of the county staff, and I've already made statements that I think there's plenty of information there to make that interpretation, but I don't know that the plat is affirmatively finding that. The plat is simply locating an easement, various easements. Obviously, that's part of the concern is there's so many overlying easements and that sort of thing. Is locating these easements and referencing the through plat notes or through other, well, mainly through plat notes, referencing the existing recorded documents for those. That's all it's doing.
I know, okay. Point being, if this board says yes to this vacation plat, we're acknowledging all that public dedication still exists. whether
I don't think.
that's the intent of the 1984 exemption plat.
I think that's open to interpretation.
John? Okay. Any other questions? Be the will of the board today.
I'd like to just, before we move on, thank everybody for showing up, airing your concerns. There's been a lot of contention, like I said, some friendships lost. I appreciate everyone being civil, to the point, and airing your concerns about this, about the road issues, the right of way. Thank you very much for showing up. It shows that you care. And the issue before us is vacation of the plat, of the subdivision, vacation of the subdivision. All the other ramifications, when they come before us, then we'll make a decision on them. But thank you for your information and being civil to each other. Thank you. And it's your district, Mr. Fuller.
Having heard everything today and understanding this may or not be finished today, I will make a motion that we approve the vacation plat of the PLN 23022 Nate and Sarah subdivision and consider it.
We need a resolution.
I'm sorry. I will make a resolution,
Five
make a
seconds.
motion. Where is it at here? Up at the top. Two seven, you said, or 5-7?
5-7.
I will make a motion, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of this County of Delta, State of Colorado, resolution number 2025R-57, vacating the minor subdivision plat known as the Nate and Sarah subdivision, PLN 23-022.
I second that.
Any further discussion, John?
Chair, it may make sense to have an amendment to that motion. Just that the plat would be updated with the county's surveyor's block signature block.
I will amend my motion to put in the aforementioned block that County Attorney Bear has requested.
I second that amended motion.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. This has not been easy on you guys nor on us.
Thank you, gentlemen, as well. Appreciate your time.
We're gonna take a quick 8 minutes. We'll reconvene here at 11:30 for Human Services. Much longer than we had scheduled for. So thank you for your patience and kindness with that. So Merry Christmas, welcome.
Merry Christmas. And due to your long morning, we will be short. So that will be hopefully nice as a Christmas gift for you. So we will start with the financials today.
Being short even before we were late.
Yes.
For payable, there's nothing, to note that's different, everything's standard. Is there any questions on that? There's nothing extra travel or anything like that. Like a boring month of payable.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Nope, nothing.
It's an action item, gentlemen.
I move that we approve the monthly payable report from the Human Services Department.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Make sure that gets to Nicole. Thank you.
For the end of October, we should be at 83.3% and we're at 84.69. Little bit over what we should be at, but still trending down compared to the previous months of the year. I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, we will end this year on a positive number, but that's my goal. I think we're gonna do it.
So.
Well, I emailed everybody I could already telling them that.
What is the dollar difference between the two percentage numbers? What's the differential?
It would be, ooh, you're gonna have to, I don't have a calculator, wait. It's between what we're at and what we're supposed to be at is 1.69%. And our total is, so about 86,000. And we are still waiting for a check. We did get notification from that Florida placement that they have processed that refund for 106,000, and that will be 21,000 of county money we will get back likely in January. They gave us a 45-day notice, I believe, right before Thanksgiving.
And that's the reimbursement from the Florida.
Yes, yeah. And then we also got another placement to be backdated to bill Medicaid, and that will be another 3,000 of county funds that we'll get back. Probably next. Yeah. It's fun to do. In terms of, oh,
Go ahead, are you gonna leap? Yeah.
yeah, so for LEAP, we, did you want to do LEAP?
No.
Okay. For our LEAP stats, we have 937 applicants total so far, 729 approved with 131,000 of benefits paid. 82 were denied and 126 are pending. And Tatiana is following the denied and pending to try and see if the denied reasons she can help overturn, and the pending items, if they're missing items, she'll help find those items and get those approved or into that approval process faster. In terms of the outreach incentive grant of 20,000, they are not giving those to any counties this year. They're keeping that funding for a potential government shutdown next year to where the funds could be used to cover benefits for people that need the LEAP program and during that time, what they've told us. So that's the 20,000 we used for outreach items last year. But we maximized that outreach funding last year, and we still have some of that we can use this year. And we did get rid of all 500 hot hands between Crawford and Cedar Edge and Delta. And we were in the parade dressed up as giant cookie gingerbread, which was interesting.
Took a couple of your hot hands off of your hot hands.
Yeah, they were very popular, so we hope to do them next year.
I didn't have everybody ask me about leaves. I think we need to ask Carhartt if they have any light packages we could add to those jackets to make us stand out a little more, because
Right, and another.
it's right on there asking, but nobody asked me.
I can make it shine, flash.
Make it what?
Like shine,
Yeah.
like flash. We have those name tags. I can make it.
Oh, yeah.
So how does the LEAP participation this year compared to last year?
It's actually lower than last year. I think the meeting we had, it was because right now it's warmer, so it's still not, has gotten as cold as it was earlier last year. Same time, that makes sense.
Our extended Indian summer into almost Christmas, you mean?
I think it's supposed to be like 68 on the Front Range even this
Yeah.
week, so.
Wow.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. So updates we have for eligibility programming. We've been talking about that quite a bit. And so just a little bit of an update. I've been trying to keep the commissioners up to date on changes, which for part of the proposals with the state and working with them, those can be daily changes. So sending out notifications about that, but we've spent a lot of time digging into those pieces as well. And so as CHSDA, we sent a letter, and then CCI also sent a letter. So we appreciate the sign off on that from the commissioner support for those pieces. We are really requesting for technology and our document systems to be in place before we start making any changes. So do you have anything you want to add on that?
I think so. Still kind of waiting day to day.
We have seen a decrease of applications for SNAP. And so part of that, it sounds like from the state's perspective, all counties are at this time. And they're thinking that part of that is trending from the federal shutdown, that it triggered some people to not want to apply. And so counties are seeing that as a whole. It's not just us.
$1 actually increased, but
No, there's $50.
Mhm.
The cases went down.
Mm-hmm. And we did receive a grant for a mini grant through HICPUF that we have now. Our supervisors are going and using overtime hours to provide outreach for applications for med and some combo programs, but they're doing that at like the Riverbend Resource Center. They're going out to the nursing facilities. And so they're just doing some outreach and providing information and being able to process applications. One of the things we know is that as individuals that struggle with full-time housing, they can apply for benefits, but if they need something to follow up with that application, it's hard to find them and track them down in that moment. So we're trying to provide that outreach so that they can ensure long-term services.
And I think in general, our entire applications or public assistance applications, not just SNAP, have seen a little bit of a decrease, which is not normal for this time of year. Usually our caseload has increased quite a bit. So I'm not sure what that is. But our cash assistance programs are, the TANF program is normally pretty high, and now it's very low.
Lori, is that just through end of November, or does that include first half of December?
Including first half of December. It's probably started back in October, where we started seeing numbers decreasing as far as applications go. A lot of it, we see applications coming in because people are applying through PEAK. PEAK will let anybody apply for anything, even if they don't meet the requirements. And so a lot of times we get the applications and then either withdraw those applications or deny them because people are applying with like the cash assistance program for children. They're applying for it over PEAK and they don't have any children. So, yeah.
PEAK is kind of confusing sometimes.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts for self-sufficiency? Okay. Moving on to child welfare. So we have, it's pretty interesting with the CASA, so the Court Appointed Special Advocate. They are the organization that provides those volunteer advocates that partner with child welfare workers and families in cases to help navigate the system, but also be another support for the family. And so they also are providing a pastries and coffee for all of Human Services staff on Thursday. They do that once a year to support our staff, but they've got some new volunteers. And so if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so it's the CASA here is for our full 7th Judicial District. And we haven't had a lot of partnership with them in Delta County. So we're happy to know that they're expanding and they'll have 5 new volunteers that we'll be able to work with, and they can be involved with some of our court-involved cases and advocate for some of our children and youth and that are involved in that process. So
that's good.
It's nice to have that. It's just another party that's involved to help support some of the things we're doing.
And 5 new volunteers is a good amount.
Yeah, it is. I know the director has been trying to get more and more here in Delta. Just been recently successful with that. So I'm excited.
I think looking back, thinking about John with you too, I think in the past we maybe had 3 or 4 at a time, potentially not very many, and then it was silent for a little while. So
I was gonna say, even if that, I mean, I think they have struggled to have, CASA has struggled to, have the volunteers in Delta. And so I think it's been, they'll step up, they'll have some for a while, they kind of go away. And so it's good that, you know, it sounds like they've got a new crop that hopefully be able to stick around.
Yeah.
And that's what.
Yeah, and we're able to partner with them to do some training, so it's nice to be able to share a little bit more of our work with them so that they're able to better advocate for some of the families we're working with.
And then adult protection, we had our team meeting, in, was it December or was it November?
It was just this month, yeah, we had our adult protection quarterly meeting. It's a state mandated process that we really engage with some of our community partners so that we're able to review some of our high profile cases. But then also it's just a good opportunity to hear from some of the service providers that are in the community to help inform our caseworkers of some of the local resources. So we had our meeting last week and I was not present for that, but I heard it went pretty well.
He was in California.
I had a vacation. I missed that one.
He was enjoying. We are seeing a little bit of turnover in child welfare and adult protection, so we're navigating that a little bit, and we'll continue to through this holiday season. But the other piece to mention was Drug Free Delta County. They are the supportive group for our drug courts, and they did a big Thanksgiving event and ensured turkeys and full Thanksgiving meal was provided to families, and I think they're working on Christmas pieces now too. So, yeah, so we're excited for that. And you can say something.
I was
Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned the giving tree that we have.
Yeah.
Eligibility is last year, I think, and the year before, we put up a tree, Christmas tree in the lobby, and it's a giving tree. So staff has donated different cold weather items, gloves, scarves. There was some of the
hygiene kits.
Yeah, hygiene kits, but some of the warmer. Yeah. And that seems to be going well, so.
Yep. So today is our employee recognition end of year holiday event. So the building will be closed from 12:30 to 4:30. So we appreciate the support for that. But we have lots of interesting things planned for staff and really trying to work on retention pieces. And I think our Fun Bunch has done a fantastic job. We're very excited for the festivities. So
Fun Bunch?
so that's what we call them. They are the Fun Bunch. They have a chair and a co-chair. They meet and decide on activities and help support staff and on all ways morale. So
I'm the treasurer, surprisingly.
Had all the eyes that go.
You need to post on Facebook that the office is going to be closed, or?
If you'd like to, we've got it posted. We had to get the state approval for it, so had to do some noticing ahead of time. So it's been up for a little bit, but if you would like to, I think that'd be helpful. Sure.
Well,
4:30. 12:30, 4:30. So as our last year, I think all of the staff, I think, are definitely appreciative of the improvements to the budget to support staff with insurance and that 1.5%. And so I think we wanted to pass that on, that they're very appreciative of that piece and that support. And so just thanks for another great year. All right, we're done.
That was 15 minutes.
I told you it was gonna be fast. We didn't have any action items other than Nicole's budget.
We're gonna put you guys in charge of planning and stuff.
Delta County is blessed to have such dedicated people just like you helping our citizens. So it was a tough budget. Being able to cover that 11% meant a lot to us. And we appreciate the staff and everybody stepping up and really looking hard at their budget.
Yeah.
So
Cole did a great job. Thank you.
Well,
Everyone.
And we are still making some changes to adjust and for cost savings with positions and different, how do we utilize funding streams differently? We're doing a lot of those things too, so help us. So.
and Annie, do keep us engaged on what happens with SNAP. And
I will, you'll get lots of emails.
yeah. Because it's a very disturbing time to see how the changes are going to roll out when we sat through that meeting and the state doesn't know.
Yeah. And the effect to the community, that's the biggest part, is the member experience and the local connections that we have with our families and individuals. We don't want to lose that. I think we prioritize that. And so that's where we fight the good fight for. So. All
Well,
right,
thank you to all, you and your staff. Thank you very much.
I will tell them. They work very hard. Yeah. Have a good new year.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Have fun this afternoon with that fun bunch.
Oh, you'll see us. I think there's like things that may occur this.
Be offline. Eddie, don't take off.